Everyone. Welcome to Magic Monday on Sunday. Due to some scheduling programming changes, we thought that we be better if we came to you today. So I hope everyone's having a nice Sunday. But we've got a great topic for you that hopefully we can share some inspirational Sunday with you. So,
yeah. Feels really different, doesn't it, Christine? Sunday feels much different than Monday.
It does.
So yeah, we're talking about judgment today. Judgment's a big deal, isn't it?
Huge.
I feel like, I don't know, maybe I think especially with women, judgment is a big deal.
Yeah.
And, I'm willing to come clean and say that I used to be an incredibly judgmental person. Just hands down, judged so many people for so many things, right? The way that people looked, the way that people dressed, the parenting, the choices that they made. I mean, anything was kind of up for grabs in terms of what I could criticize in another person. Yeah. People in the grocery store, friends, parents, kids, it ran the whole gamut.
Yeah, we do. And it kind of leads to a certain state of being that's not so great. You find yourself irritated, offended, looking for ways to be irritated and offended, talking to people who are also irritated and offended, right?
Misery loves company.
Misery loves company. There you go. So, but what we want to talk about is how to work with judgment, right? And I think the first step is recognizing it's a pretty common saying, but it says a lot. It sort of captures the main point here is that we know that all judgment is self-judgment, right? Perception is projection. That's another way to look at that, right?
I like that.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
But, for anyone who may not have heard this before, that's kind of a big deal, right? What do you mean all judgment is self-judgment, right? I'm judging that person. That doesn't have anything to do with me. Why are you saying that to me, Christine? Right?
Well, yeah. And we see this a lot in our work, right? So we have clients that come to us and say, well, he's doing this and she's doing this, and I wish this could be so-and-so should be doing that. And we always bring it back home. We say, our tendencies to criticize something that we find unpleasant or unsatisfactory in other people, really at the end of the day is mirroring back something that needs our attention. It's something that's really bothering you, quite honestly, down deep, right?
And this is what I realized, right? That I was let's just take the parenting example. I was so critical of other people's parenting because down deep, I was so insecure about my own parenting. And it was a lot easier to shine the light on them and think they were doing something poorly instead of actually looking at what it was that I could change that could make me feel better about what I was doing in my own home.
Yeah. So whenever we feel we have something that, it's just a tough issue for us. It's a way to cope with not looking at the really not so great parts of our life that we need to look at. And so it shows up in our criticisms of others. It shows up in those sort of knee-jerk reactions we have. Oh my God, I can't believe she's wearing that. How could she be wearing that? Look at that, And it really, at the end of the day, how to use judgment is, first of all, to bring awareness to it, like anything else. You want to bring awareness to this habit we have of criticizing other people, right? And not make ourselves wrong. Right? Not sort of feel bad about ourselves and say, I'm such a bad person for being so judgy, but really use as an opportunity to shift something within you, right? What can I learn from this judgment that I'm having is the question you want to ask.
Right. And when people come to us and when we sit with people in coaching and in circles and in our workshops, we always bring it back to the person, right? We say it's never about who you're judging. It's always about you. And what is there for you to look at and to learn from. And to stop judging yourself about, right? Because judgment is typically something that you're either pushing away because you don't want to acknowledge it in yourself,
right?
Or it's something that you're just not willing to look at, or that you do all the time, and you just would rather look at it in them and criticize it in them than look at it for yourself.
Why? Because it requires deep honesty. It requires a lot of vulnerability, right? And that's really what this work again is all about. And we learn from our experience and interaction with other people. That's just how we're wired, right? So again, like every interaction that we have, we want to sort of understand, there's a lesson in it for me here. What is it? What needs my attention, right? What is really mattering about this moment right now that I can make work for me? And the best, example I can think of is we tend to be really hypercritical of people in our inner circle, right? Our family members, our kids, our parents, our sisters, our brothers, and it doesn't feel so good, So that's, it's not something we want to stop and halt, and it's our process. We want to kind of take a look. So, for example, a lot of it that comes through my work is, we're always looking at our kids and we're like, well, I just don't think they're living up to their potential. They need to be being more aggression, more assertiveness. They need to really, and the question always comes back, well, where in your life are you feeling some dissatisfaction? Right? Where haven't you sort of taken steps to evolve where you really want to go, right?
To reach your own potential.
Right. And what can you do right now in this moment? What's one small thing you can do to, again, be a better parent, to move closer to what you really want in life? Right? And that feels a lot different.
It is. And in the same way that all judgment is self-judgment, all acceptance is self-acceptance.
So beautiful.
So the way that we accept ourselves, the way that we accept others, that it's the same thing. And it then becomes a loving kindness situation. It becomes a, let live and let live. Be okay with yourself, then you can be okay with everyone else. Yeah. Right. And we want to point out that it doesn't mean that we won't have observations about other people. Doesn't mean that we're not going to see the outfit or see the parenting, but the comments change and the feeling that you have with the comments change. Right. So when I see a parent doing something, I will sometimes now say, well, that's not the choice that I would make. But I don't have the same experience. I don't live in the same home that they do. And that must work for them. And they do that and I do what I do. Right. And it's not judgmental anymore. It's just an observation of a difference.
Right. And the same inquiry might apply is to say, well, where is it that I'm not always a perfect parent? Right. Where is it that I need to look at, wow, what does that remind me that sometimes I'm in a situation like that? What do I need to think more about and bring more awareness around? Right.
Yeah.
So yes, it's not that we don't have opinions or observations or contrast and comparison. That's all just being human, to be honest with you. We're always sorting for difference, that's never going to stop. But the takeaway here is, where does it leave you? Where do you dwell in your life? Right.
When I get cut off in traffic now, I try to say, well, sometimes I cut other people off in traffic.
Right.
Instead of just being angry at that person, say, well, sometimes I'm in a situation where I do the same thing. Yeah. And just let it be.
And you know what I've noticed in my life is that when you do that, you tend to attract less judgmental people into your life too, right? I mean, it's just the way it goes, because as you said, misery loves company. And there are some friendships that have gone by the wayside in my life because I found that the only thing we really had in common became how we were criticizing everybody, how we could talk about everybody, how could we just be better than everybody,
And you just brought up another Magic Monday topic, right? Yes. The way that sometimes friends do fall by the wayside with this work. And when we shift our focus, and if we've always been negative, we've always been super hard on ourselves and judgmental, there are people who still want to live there, but we understand that it feels better to live in a different place, in a positive place, in a non-judgmental place. And that's okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I guess we can wrap it up, Carl Jung, I love this quote, right? Everything that irritates us about others can lead to an understanding of ourselves. And I just love that quote. I think it says it all. So
it sure does. It sure does. So, judging thy neighbor and do the turnaround, recognize how it's a mirror of something that's going on in you, and let us know how it goes. We'd love to hear from you in the comments.
Awesome. Great. Well, enjoy the rest of your Sunday and have a magical Monday anyway.
Fun.
Bye-bye.